Hello everyone, this is Temo, and I'd like to discuss the Bellator Champions card coming up. In particular, I want to talk about the main event and the co-main event, because I think these are the fights which would be great fights on any card, meaning this time around on the UFC cards as well, that I would be definitely interested in watching. And the reason for that is very simple. We have fresh guys who are really at the top of their game and who are very, very skilled, and they would, in my opinion, play a major part in any ranking in UFC or any other organization. So when you have premier fights like that, it kind of gives off strike force-ish vibes for me, as fighters who could go to the UFC and perhaps even dominate and hold titles there. As we know, Usman Nurmagomedov is from Khabib's camp. He's from the Dagestani Eagles MMA team, and obviously his teammate is Islam Makhachev. So they have a very, I guess, organized system when it comes to how they handle progression and succession in their from their team. So Khabib won, defended his title several times. Okay, you could have any opinion about it. Doesn't matter. He had his own thoughts about it, and he retired. And he made his way for Islam Makhachev, and then Islam obviously delivered and got the title. And I believe this Usman being out of the UFC is also part of the kind of structure, where I don't know whether it was because they considered Islam a bit more senior guy or better guy and went to the UFC, or it just happened that way. But I believe that Usman was also touted as somebody who could be a champion in any organization. So they, at the time, Bellator was number one, and you could argue still, even after the PFL takeover, it is number two organization. Did I say number one? I mean, it's number one competitor for the UFC, so number two organization. And today, the same way. So I guess the best alternative to UFC is Bellator, or now maybe also PFL, and probably they will at one point merge as well. So they sent the guy there, and he is the champion there. So because of that, I think other organization kind of gains and doesn't have these recycled fighters or second-grade fighters to UFC, and those are Usman and Shabliy also are probably some of the guys who are original talent and high-level talent that Bellator can boast about. Let's discuss the fight. I think fight is a good fight, but overall, in looking at the different areas of mixed martial arts, I don't believe that Shabliy is as skilled as Usman is. Usman is a very versatile fighter. He has every skill on a very high level. He's highly skilled in all of the areas of mixed martial arts, and he can also mix it up and transition between the disciplines and between the positions really, really well. And also is a very high-level striker. On the other side, we got Shabliy, who is more of a striker and employs grappling in a more defensive manner than, let's say, Usman, if need be. Okay, or if he decides to mix it up, not because necessarily he's losing on the feet. Sometimes he decides to impose his will by wrestling, and I believe this will come into play in this fight as well. On the other hand, we got Shabliy, who is training with Arman Tsarukyan, who actually is probably one of the next guys, if not the next guy, to fight against Islam. So it's kind of like this team rivalry building up, and all of them are also from Russia or training from Russia. Obviously, Arman is Armenian, born in Georgia, but now lives in Russia, so they're all fighting out of Russia. Shabliy is, as I understand, Russian, half Russian at least, and obviously Usman is Dagestani. But yeah, they're all fighting under the Russian banner, and there's this big rivalry building up. But unlike, let's say, Arman Sarukian and Islam Makhachev, I think Shabliy and Usman don't have this steep rivalry as we see in the UFC. Let's say between Arman and Islam. And I also would like to see more energy from Shabliy and more confidence. He kind of shows like quiet confidence, but I would like to see more like, okay, I'm coming for this guy, and not be as respectful as he is. I don't mean that he should be disrespectful in any manner outside of the sport, but to be more firm on his opinions about the fight and about the potential outcome, which obviously in his mind should be winning. Because Usman shows a lot of confidence and he has this aura of an undefeated fighter, and on top of that, this brings additional challenge in any case, no matter the demeanor. When the guy is undefeated and has had many fights, and you're going up against him, especially when you know what it feels like to lose, you know what it feels like to get finished. You have to teach this guy also how to lose. Oftentimes, this is additional challenge to the fighters, and I believe Shabliy will have that obstacle in front of him as well. I expect Usman to be better all-around fighter and get the W, whether it's by decision or by a finish. I don't discount the possibility of finish, but let's see how well Shabliy can shut down the game of Usman and make it a pure striking fight, which may grant him more opportunities to win. Doesn't guarantee him a win in any way, but it definitely offers more possibilities for a win. But on the other side, we got Usman, who is a very high-level striker as well. So even in a pure kickboxing match, I would not be necessarily too optimistic about the chances of Alexander Shabliy. But let's see. He has power. He has demonstrated his power. It's MMA. Anything can happen, and I believe it's one of the best fights that can be made outside of UFC. So definitely tune in, and I'm leaning towards Usman, maybe 65-35, maybe 70-30 maximum, which leaves quite a bit for Shabliy to come in and capitalize on the underdog status and get the W. Okay, the co-main event is Georgia's Levan Chokheli versus veteran of all the organizations pretty much that I can think of, except Pride, I guess, big ones. Lorenz Larkin, he has fought for Strikeforce. Then after the Strikeforce merger or takeover by the UFC, he has fought for UFC, and now he's fighting for Bellator. He had some of the ups and downs in his career, but now he's relatively on the upward trend of his career. He had one loss previous to his last win against Koreshkov, but there was a very close fight, and in the area of striking, he demonstrated better proficiency than Koreshkov and more power. Even had Koreshkov in a lot of trouble in the fight, nearing a finish. So I think stylistically, it's a tough fight for Levan Chokheli. Levan Chokheli is more of a striker as well. He's now rounding up his game as well, but he's more of a striker, and he probably will spend quite a bit of time striking with Lorenz. So I think in a pure striking match, Larkin has a chance against anybody, and he has demonstrated that many times. He has many finishes, also very dynamic and dangerous striker. But on the other hand, so is Levan Chokheli. And also I believe that maybe in a grappling department, wrestling slash jiu-jitsu, Levan may be now a bit better than Lorenz, and he may be able to employ that to his own advantage. But again, I believe quite a bit of time will be spent in the stand-up, and that kind of leaves danger for anybody to get finished against Lawrence Larkin. But don't discount Levan's striking as well. Levan is a very strong guy, dynamic guy, a good striker, good understanding of the range. He has had more trouble with the grappling and wrestling in the past, and all of his pretty much losses are in those departments, especially at the top level. And he's now rounding up his game more in the United States. And that's the thing with some of the Georgian fighters who are who spend a big chunk of their career in Georgia. Georgia MMA is not as developed as in many other countries. There's not many high-level MMA gyms or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and grappling gyms that you could go to. The last few years, it's more on the rise, and more effort is being put into developing the MMA scene and Jiu-Jitsu scene, also partially by yours truly as well. And I believe that kind of puts some of Georgian fighters a bit at a disadvantage of not being very well rounded in certain areas, and takes time for some of them to go to US, kind of hone their skills a bit and apply a bit more, round up their games, and then they usually go on to dominate. That was also the case with Merab Dvalishvili. He was a very good raw talent, but he was not as skilled initially. He had a good base of wrestling slash judo, but mostly judo initially, but obviously the let's call it the grappling base, not jiu-jitsu perhaps, but the stand-up and the throws and the base in general of a wrestler. And then it took him quite a bit of time to adapt and kind of round up his game more and sharpen some of the additional tools, which then puts him now in a title fight of the UFC, which is I guess the biggest fight you could be in. Now it's up to him to win as well. We'll discuss that in a separate video. But now I think Levan Chokheli also finds himself in a similar position where he was missing some of the pieces of the puzzle, and he's filling those pieces of the puzzle as well. And I believe that when he does that, and hopefully he already filled quite a bit of that, and we see in his last few fights that he definitely has gotten much better and improved quite a bit. I believe he'll be a danger to anybody in the welterweight division in Bellator, and maybe perhaps in the UFC later on as well. I believe this fight is a very hard to pick fight. If I go with my brain, it's probably somewhere around 50-50. But I think that Levan will bring his improved skills, will bring his good striking, and will rounding game, which is rounding out as we speak. And I believe that he has good chances to win. Okay, he's a young guy on the come up. Lawrence Larkin had quite a bit of time in the game, took quite a bit of damage, so I believe that this is the time for somebody like Levan Chokheli to bring in the new blood, inject new blood into the sport and into the division and into Bellator, and perhaps after that fight for the title, even as a better version, which I believe he will be if he wins this fight, or either way. let's see. So those are my thoughts about the Bellator card coming up, Champions Series. So please let me know your thoughts as well about some of my ideas and some of my opinions. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.